The alien bazaar was loud and colorful. Creatures from many worlds shouted prices, traded goods, and laughed. Bright lights blinked above stalls filled with metal parts, glowing stones, and strange fruits. But in one dark corner, away from the noise, was a forgotten stall. And behind that stall, hidden under a dirty cloth, was a small cage. The cage was meant for birds. But there was no bird inside. Inside the cage sat a girl. She had silver skin that looked dusty. Her hair was long and tangled, hanging over her face. Her big purple eyes stared through the bars without blinking. She was thin, so thin that her bones showed. She had no clothes, just a torn blanket. Her knees were pulled to her chest. She did not speak. She did not cry. She just stared. Most people walked past her. Some didn't even notice. Others thought she was some decoration or a broken puppet. But then one day, a human man entered the bazaar. His name was Daniel Morrow. He was an off-duty engineer from Earth working on nearby space stations. He wasn't looking for trouble. He only wanted old ship parts and maybe a hot drink. He had no idea he was about to find something that would change his life forever. Daniel walked through the stalls, bored. He looked at wires, bolts, and engines. Then something strange pulled his attention. He thought he saw a face, just for a second, through the gaps in a dirty cloth. Curious, he moved closer. He pulled the cloth back. And there she was. The girl. At first, he didn't move. He just stared. "Is this real?" he whispered, her eyes locked on his. Big. Sad. Silent. "Hey," Daniel said softly. "You okay?" No answer. Then he noticed her hands. Thin fingers gripped the metal bars tightly. They trembled. One finger moved just slightly, like a signal. "Who are you?" he asked. A voice behind him growled. "That one's not for sale." Daniel turned. An alien merchant with yellow eyes and sharp teeth was standing nearby. He wore a red robe and smelled like grease and old meat. "She's not for sale?" Daniel asked. "Then what is she doing here?" The merchant spat. "Broken property. She's useless, just keeps quiet and stares all day, worth nothing." Daniel's jaw tightened. "She's not an object." "She's not a person either," the merchant shrugged. "Just a leftover. Some royal trash that got lost during the purge. We caged her to stop her from screaming. Now she doesn't even talk." Daniel looked back at the girl. She wasn't screaming now. She was begging, with her eyes. There was pain in them. Old pain. The kind that doesn't leave. The kind you carry when no one hears your voice for years. Daniel asked, "How long has she been here?" "Don't know. 5 years? 7? I wasn't the first one to own her. She was already broken when I got her." Daniel took a step closer to the cage. The girl pressed her forehead to the bars. Daniel slowly reached out. She didn't pull back. He placed his hand gently against the cage. Her fingers moved again, 2 taps, pause, 1 tap. It was a pattern. A code, he realized. She's trying to talk. "I'll come back," he whispered. "I promise." She blinked once. A tear slipped down her cheek. Daniel turned to the merchant. "I'll be back tomorrow. Don't move her." The merchant laughed. "No one wants her. She's all yours, human. Come back any time." As Daniel walked away, his heart was heavy. He came for ship parts. But now he was thinking about a girl locked in a parrot cage. A girl who hadn't spoken in years. A girl with eyes full of sorrow and a soul that hadn't given up. Not yet. Something in him had changed. Daniel didn't know who she was. But he knew one thing. She didn't belong in that cage. And if no one else would help her, he would. The next day, Daniel couldn't sleep. Even the cold hum of his ship engine didn't calm him like it usually did. The image of the silver-skinned girl in that tiny cage haunted him. Her eyes followed him in every reflection. She hadn't spoken, but her silence had screamed louder than any voice. He needed to see her again. Daniel returned to the alien bazaar. This time he wore a hood to stay unnoticed. The market was busier today. Aliens bartered loudly. Small drones flew between stalls and the air smelled like smoke and spices. But Daniel didn't stop for anything. He went straight to the corner where she had been. The cage was still there. The dirty cloth still hung halfway, over it. The merchant sat nearby, half asleep, chewing something red and sticky. Daniel crouched quietly. He lifted the cloth just enough. The girl was awake, and she was waiting. Her eyes widened when she saw him. Her fingers gripped the bars, and she slowly moved one hand in that same strange pattern again. Tap, tap, pause, tap. This time, Daniel was ready. He pulled out a small screen from his pocket, a translation tool. He entered the taps like a rhythm. The screen buzzed softly. Translation. You came. Daniel's throat felt tight. Yeah, I came. She stared at him and slowly tapped again. Translation. Help me. Daniel looked around. The merchant was snoring now. Other shoppers were busy shouting at each other over engine cores and glowing eggs. No one was watching. Daniel moved closer. What's your name? He whispered. She tapped again, faster this time. Translation. Neri. Her name was Neri. Daniel whispered it. Neri. She flinched, like she hadn't heard her own name in years. Her fingers twitched. Then she looked down, ashamed. Her arms were covered in old bruises, and her legs trembled. She was weak, too weak to run, too weak to fight. Daniel's fists clenched. I'm going to get you out, he said. She shook her head slightly, then tapped again. Translation. Danger. They watch. They listen. Daniel frowned. He checked the cage and noticed tiny glowing lines in the corners. Hidden tech. There were sensors, maybe even trackers. Someone didn't just lock her up. They made sure she couldn't even be touched without being monitored. Who are they? He asked. She didn't answer, but her eyes said it all. Whoever they were, she was afraid of them more than the cage itself. Daniel leaned in. Why did they lock you up? She tapped slowly. It took longer. Translation. Not full alien, not full human. Broken. Daniel stared at the words. Not full alien. Not full human. He remembered the way her eyes had glowed. The slight curve of her ears. The soft, almost human shape of her face. She was a hybrid, and hybrids were feared. He knew the stories. Long ago, certain governments experimented with alien-human mixes. It was illegal in most systems now. Any proof of those dark programs was erased. If Neri existed, it meant someone powerful wanted her hidden forever. Daniel felt a chill. She wasn't just a lost girl in a cage. She was evidence, and someone had gone to a lot of trouble to make sure no one ever found her. He looked at her. I won't leave you again. She tapped one final message. Translation. Soon, night, please. Daniel nodded. Tonight? Then he stood up and walked away, heart racing, mind spinning. Tonight he would come back, and he would break the cage, but he would need help. He would need a plan, because this wasn't just about freeing a girl anymore. It was about challenging a secret that someone wanted buried, and Daniel knew one thing clearly now. They didn't just put Neri in a cage to silence her. They feared what would happen if she ever got out. Daniel didn't go back to his ship. He walked past the bazaar, through back alleys filled with rusted machines and flickering lights. He knew where he was going, a place called Sector B-17, a forgotten repair yard where smugglers and junkers gathered. It wasn't safe, but tonight he didn't care about safe. He needed someone who could break through trackers, unlock alien cages, and keep secrets. He needed Kellen. Kellen was a half-cyber smuggler with one glowing red eye and fingers that could hack almost anything. Daniel had fixed his ship once. That favor was all he had. He found Kellen behind a scrap pile polishing a stolen security drone. "I need help," Daniel said. Kellen didn't look up. "Everyone does." "This is different," Daniel said. "It's a cage. High-tech, hidden trackers, and inside is a girl, an alien girl." Kellen paused. "She's not just alien," Daniel added. "She's part human." Now Kellen looked up. He stared at Daniel for a long moment, then said, "You're either very stupid or very brave." Daniel replied, "Maybe both." Kellen scratched his metal jaw. "You know what happens to people who mess with hybrid tech? They vanish." "Exactly." Kellen stood. "But you said girl. So this is personal?" Daniel nodded. She tapped out her name. "Her whole body is shaking. She's been locked up for years, and I can't leave her there." Kellen sighed. "Fine, I'll help. But if this goes bad, I'm wiping my memory and blaming you." That night, under the Yahweh pale moons, they returned to the bazaar. It was closed now. Lights were dim. Guards patrolled in lazy circles. The merchant's stall sat quiet in the shadows. The cage was still there. So was Neri. Her eyes lit up when she saw Daniel. He crouched beside the cage and whispered, "We're getting you out." Kellen moved fast. He pressed a flat disc against the cage. It blinked green, then red, then back to green. Sensors off. 5 seconds. He tapped a second tool to the lock. Tiny sparks danced, and then, click, the cage opened. Neri didn't move. She looked scared. Daniel reached in. "It's okay. I've got you." Her body was light, too light, bones like paper. She wrapped her arms around his neck, but her hands trembled. She was crying, silent tears that ran down her silver cheeks. Suddenly, the disc on Kellen's wrist flashed red. "Movement!" he hissed. "They're coming!" Guards shouted from across the lane. A drone zipped into view, blinking blue. An alarm rang out, loud and sharp. "Run!" Daniel shouted. Kellen tossed a flash bomb. It exploded in a burst of white light and smoke. Daniel held Neri close and dashed between stalls. He jumped crates, ducked beams, and didn't stop running. Behind him, the merchant screamed, "Thieves! You stole her! You'll pay for this!" They reached a narrow alley. A gate blocked the path. Daniel slammed into it, but it didn't budge. "I'll cut it," Kellen said. But before he could, a shadow moved. A tall alien in black armor appeared from the other side. He didn't raise a weapon. He just looked at Neri and smiled. "I was wondering when someone would try to take her," he said calmly. "The human heart is so predictable." Daniel held Neri tighter. "Who are you?" The armored alien stepped forward. "The cage was never the real prison. She is the key to a war we cannot allow. And now you're part of it." Daniel glanced at Kellen. "We need to go now." Kellen threw a smoke charge. Another burst of cover. The alien coughed and stumbled back. The gate was cut open and they ran into the tunnels below the bazaar. Finally, they reached the old scrapyard ship. Daniel's safe place. Daniel laid Neri on a soft pile of blankets. She was pale, but alive. Kellen locked the door. "We just made powerful enemies." Daniel looked down at Neri. Her fingers tapped weakly. He checked the translator. Translation. "Thank you." He touched her hand. "We're not done. Not yet." Kellen sat down. "You really want to protect her?" Daniel nodded. "I don't know what she's hiding, but if people are ready to kill for it, that means it matters." He looked at Neri again. She wasn't just a caged girl anymore. She was a target, and Daniel had just become her only shield. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He sat beside Neri, watching her breathe. Her thin body shook from cold and fear. Even wrapped in blankets, her skin felt like ice. Every few minutes, she tapped her fingers, but her hands were weak now. Her energy was fading fast. Kellen paced the ship's small control room. "We can't stay here. The Blackguard will track your DNA trace. They've marked her, and now you." Daniel looked up. "I'm not leaving her." Kellen sighed. "I know." That's the problem. Outside, the scrapyard was quiet, but it wouldn't be for long. Drones had already scanned the area twice. The enemy knew she was out. The clock was ticking. Daniel leaned closer to Neri. "Why do they want you so badly?" he whispered. Her purple eyes opened slowly. She tapped 3 times. Then nothing. Her voice cracked out, a whisper like broken glass. "Because I remember." Daniel froze. "You remember what?" She closed her eyes again. "Before the cage. Before the purge. The hidden place." Kellen stepped in. "She's talking?" Daniel nodded. "Barely. But she said she remembers something. Something hidden. Then they'll burn the whole sector to silence her," Kellen said darkly. Suddenly, the ship's alarm buzzed. Red lights flashed. Kellen checked the screen. Heat signature. 30 seconds out. Small strike team, black armor. They're here. Daniel stood up, heart racing. "I need to move her. Can you stall them?" Kellen grinned. "You owe me 10 lifetimes." He grabbed his plasma rifle and kicked open the hatch. Daniel wrapped Neri in the thickest cloth he could find. She didn't protest. She only looked at him, tired but trusting. He ran toward the back of the scrapyard, weaving through rusted metal and broken engines. Smoke began to rise from the front. Kellen had started a fight, but it wouldn't last long. These weren't normal guards. They were cleaners, the kind that erased evidence and made witnesses disappear. Neri shivered in his arms. "Almost there," he whispered. Then he saw it, an old cargo hauler buried under scrap. It wasn't fast, but it had shielding. Enough to get past scanners. Enough to hide. He climbed inside and placed her gently on the floor. The engines were cold. It hadn't moved in years. But Daniel was an engineer. He could fix anything. He started reconnecting wires, rerouting power, forcing the ignition. Outside, Kellen shouted something, but it was cut short. A blast shook the yard. Footsteps, loud, heavy. They were coming. Daniel's hands flew over controls. Come on, the hauler sparked. Lights flickered, engines roared to life. But then, a voice. Not through the speaker. Not outside. Inside his mind. It was Neri's voice, strong and clear. "Behind you." Daniel spun. A black guard officer had dropped silently into the hauler. His weapon was raised. But before he could fire, the air changed. Neri sat up. Her hands glowed with soft violet light. The guard froze, then screamed. His weapon dropped as his body lifted into the air, held by nothing. He gasped for breath, choking on invisible force. Daniel stared. "Neri, what are you doing?" She looked calm, eyes glowing like stars. She spoke aloud now, voice steady. "They killed my mother. Burned our cities, locked me in a cage for years." She raised her hand. The guard flew backward, crashing into the hauler wall. Then silence. The glow faded, and Neri collapsed. Daniel caught her just in time. She was shaking again, breath shallow, but her eyes met his. "I remember everything now," she whispered, "and they're afraid." The hauler lifted into the air, shaky but moving. Behind them, the scrapyard burned. Daniel didn't know where they were going. He only knew this. The girl he rescued was more than a prisoner. She was powerful. She was hunted, and No, she was finally awake. The old cargo hauler flew through dark space, far from the burning scrapyard. Daniel sat in the pilot's seat, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Behind him, Neri lay on a cot, her face pale, her body weak, but her mind was stirring. For the first time since he found her in the cage, she was whispering words, not in fear, not in pain, but in memory. Daniel stood and walked back to her. "Neri?" he asked softly. She opened her glowing eyes. "Where are we?" she asked, her voice quiet but clear. "Far," Daniel said. "Away from the guards, away from the ones who hurt you." Neri blinked slowly. I dreamed of this. A human ship, a voice that did not hurt me. Daniel sat beside her. You're safe here, but I need to know. Who are you really? Neri looked down at her thin fingers. I was born in a lab, not like others. My mother. She was alien, but my father. She looked up, her eyes meeting his. He was human. A soldier. Daniel's heart skipped. That's why they locked you up. Neri nodded. They said I was unnatural, a mistake. But my parents didn't believe that. They ran. They tried to hide me. They taught me. Names. Places. Earth. Daniel leaned closer. You've seen Earth? In dreams, she whispered. In stories. I remember the blue water, the white clouds. My father's voice said I would go there someday. Daniel felt a lump in his throat. I'm from Earth, she smiled just a little. I know. I could feel it in you, and the first time you looked at me. Daniel was quiet. Then he said, What happened to your parents? Her smile faded. They were taken, she whispered. Burned. I heard my mother scream. My father held me, and then he was gone. Daniel's fists tightened. And they caged you? Neri touched her neck. For years, I forgot how to talk. I forgot what freedom felt like. Daniel reached out gently. But your voice is coming back. She nodded. Because you listened. Later that night, the ship floated in deep orbit around a quiet moon. Daniel used the time to scan Neri's DNA again. This time he went deeper, through levels no normal scanner could reach. What he saw shocked him. Her genes were not just mixed, they were advanced, hybrid strands that glowed like light codes. She's not just a mix, Daniel whispered to himself. She's engineered. Then the screen blinked. A hidden sequence unlocked. It displayed a symbol, the Earth military crest, long since banned from space operations. Daniel sat back, stunned. She's connected to Earth's black archive. Suddenly Neri appeared behind him. You found it, she said quietly. You knew? She nodded. It's in me, a key. My body holds data from the human past, from a war your people buried. Why? To warn the future. Daniel stood. They locked you up to erase that history. Yes, she said, because if people learn the truth, they'll rise. Daniel looked at her, feeling both awe and fear. You're not just a memory, Neri, you're a weapon. She shook her head. No, I'm a voice. And for the first time, Daniel believed it. The next morning, as the ship drifted silently, a transmission crackled through the radio. A human voice spoke. Unknown vessel, this is Central Galactic Patrol. We received unauthorized data from your ship. Identify yourself. Daniel's face turned pale. Neri looked at him. You sent it? He nodded. The world needs to know. I sent part of your genetic record to Earth's last free channel, just enough to prove you exist. Neri closed her eyes. Then they will come. All of them. Let them, Daniel said. You've been silent too long. She smiled again, wider this time. I'm ready to speak. The stars above were quiet, but war was building in the silence. Daniel stood at the edge of the command deck, watching as a dozen blinking signals appeared on the radar screen. Ships, big ones, some human, some alien, all heading toward their location. He didn't need confirmation, he knew. They had heard Neri's voice, and now they were coming to erase it. Behind him, Neri sat in the medbay, hooked to a small biolink. Her skin glowed softly with streaks of silver. Not from sickness, but from activation. Her DNA was shifting, unlocking. The message Daniel had sent had done more than alert old systems. It had triggered her legacy. Kellen's voice echoed through the ship speaker. Dan, We've got a big problem. 3 stealth drones just zipped past the outer moon. They're scanning for us. Daniel tapped the console. Can you jam their signals? I can try, but if they've got plasma ears, we're toast. Daniel turned to Neri. How much time do we have? She looked at him, her eyes brighter than before. Not long. They won't risk another broadcast. What happens if we send your full genetic code? Neri hesitated. The whole galaxy will know. Every government, every rebel cell, every sleeper AI, the truth, the experiments, the murders. She touched her chest. It's all inside me. Daniel nodded. Then we send it, before they can shut us down. Minutes later, Daniel and Kellen prepared the final transmission. The data glowed in pulses. Living code made from Neri's blood, every strand a story, every pulse a secret. The truth wasn't just words. It was alive. Neri stood between them now, no longer the silent girl in a cage. Her back was straight, her voice calm. I was born from 2 worlds, she said. They called me unnatural, but I am proof that life can be more. She looked at Daniel. You gave me my voice back. Now let me speak for others who can't. Daniel nodded. He pressed the final key. The signal launched. Across space, data storms exploded into servers. Old files reopened. Forgotten labs lit up. Former soldiers who had buried their shame stared in horror as Neri's code spread like wildfire. The truth was out, and that's when the real war began. Incoming, Kellen screamed as the first enemy blast hit the shields. The ship shook violently. Alarms blared, panels sparked. Daniel grabbed the controls. Hold on. Outside, a massive black ship approached. No markings, no call sign, just silent death. Daniel knew what it was. Purge-class hunter, built to destroy evidence, built to erase people like Neri. The ship fired again, but this time, Neri raised her hand. No weapon, no tool, just her voice. She whispered a word in a language older than Earth's records. The pulse from her body shot forward like a wave of light. The hunter ship's systems froze. Its lights blinked, once, then died. It drifted in space, helpless. Kellen stared. What was that? Daniel looked at her in awe. You shut it down, Neri nodded. They built me as a weapon, but I choose what I become. Inside the silence, the radio crackled again. A new voice, human, female, strong. This is Commander Ayla Wren of Earth's hidden archive. Neri, we received your signal. We believe you. Daniel grabbed the mic. Can you help us? We're sending ships now. Hold the line. You're not alone anymore. Neri smiled. For the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving, she was leading. And Daniel? He stood by her side, not as a rescuer anymore, but as a believer, because now he knew. The truth in her blood would rewrite the future. The stars were no longer silent. For the first time in generations, human and alien systems buzzed with the same message. A girl once locked in a cage had spoken. Across space stations, desert colonies, and orbital cities, beings paused their daily lives to watch her face on every screen. Silver-skinned, glowing-eyed, calm yet unshakable. Her name, Neri, was now known across galaxies, and she was ready to speak to them all. Daniel stood in the control chamber of the Archive's hidden command ship, watching her prepare. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from pride. The broken, silent girl he had found in a cage was gone. In her place stood a voice the galaxy could no longer ignore. Neri wore a long white robe lined with patterns from both Earth and her mother's alien clan, symbols of unity, of survival, of resistance. Are you ready? Daniel asked softly. She turned to him and smiled. No, she said, but I have to be. He laughed gently. That's enough. The transmission began. All systems blinked green, galactic time paused, and Neri stepped forward into the light. She looked into the camera and spoke, not just with words, but with meaning that pierced through languages and species. They put me in a cage because I was different, because I came from two worlds. They told me I was dangerous, that no one would care if I disappeared. But someone did care. A human man heard my silence. And now, I am not silent anymore. Behind her, images appeared. Burned labs, sealed, reports, maps of planets where hybrids were hunted or lost. There are others like me, hidden, afraid, waiting. I speak for them. I speak for the children of war who never chose to be part of it. And I say this, we belong, not in cages, but in the stars. On the outer screens, reactions poured in. Some cried, some bowed, some shouted in anger, but no one ignored her. Commander Ayla Wren approached Daniel. You understand what she started, don't you? Daniel nodded. A revolution? No, Ayla said. Something bigger. A rewriting of history, of law, of who we call human. Daniel looked at Neri, still standing tall before the galaxy. She's not just a hybrid, he said. She's hope. Later, after the broadcast ended, Neri returned to her quiet room. Daniel followed her in. You did it, he said. She shook her head. We did it. He sat beside her. What? Now? She looked out the window, watching starlight dance across space. They will come for me again. Some will want to worship me. Some will want to silence me. Some will want to use me. Daniel asked, What do you want? She turned to him. To live. To laugh. To walk free on Earth's soil. To see the ocean my father spoke of. Daniel smiled. I can take you there. Neri reached for his hand. Her touch was warm now, not cold like the day he found her. I'm not broken anymore, she said. But I'll still need someone to walk with me. Daniel looked into her glowing eyes. You won't walk alone. Not ever again. And so, the girl once locked in a parrot cage, once silenced and forgotten, became more than a name. She became a symbol, a bridge between worlds, a spark for peace and change, not with guns, but with a voice.